Hi and welcome to the witching hour, I guess. Um, I had this memory come up today. I was in class studying, and they tried to play this game with everybody that was part of it. And the idea was like everybody had to agree on something, and if they all agreed, then they would all win or gain a certain points. But if they didn't, then the person that chose to trust would lose points, and people who didn't would benefit. Or actually, they weren't benefiting either. Um, and this was just this was a hypothetical game, so none of us were really losing anything at all, and none of us were going to gain from it either. To me, it felt like a no brainer to pick the option to trust, because if we all chose to trust, then we would all benefit more, get more points in the process. We would all be winning. Um, but that even if a single person chose to not, then we would all lose, and we would all make the least number of points possible. And we were given 10 rounds of this game. And interestingly, for every round that we played, people continued to choose to not trust. And we were also playing as teams, so our team would get to decide. And the whole time, to me, I wanted to choose the option to trust everybody else. In that game, I would have lost, but I was also very aware that the loss didn't mean anything. Just like winning wouldn't mean anything either. But I learned that people didn't operate that way, people didn't feel that way, that people thought not trusting others is the more beneficial choice. And I think a lot of people do live life like that. And I've really struggled with it. I've burnt my fingers a couple of times because I think I operate from a default setting of trusting that maybe I would be okay to trust. Um, Sort of like start from the point of trusting somebody, and then if they gave me a reason not to, then maybe I could stop. But turns out that's not how the world works. And increasingly in the recent last few weeks, I've been sitting with this feeling of I don't know how this world works. It feels like everything that was taught, even just as children, doesn't apply anymore. And it feels extremely stupid because, and maybe that's part of growing up, maybe part of growing up is realizing that there are ideas and that there is reality. But if we're not living by those ideas, then I also feel extremely unsure about how to live at all. I remember when I was a child, I'm sure everybody has this experience where parents are trying to instill values like honesty. And there was this one moment where my grandmother sort of called us home. We were playing outside and we wanted to play some more. And my grandmother said, "No, come back, your mother's home." My mother would go to work in the morning and she'd be back by afternoon. And so, but when we got home, I realized my mother had not come home yet. And so it was this moment of, oh, you just lied to us. And as a child, it felt like, does that mean it's okay to lie? That, okay, so then nothing makes sense, or like we can just throw everything out the window then. I remember as a teenager, my parents were trying to have this conversation with me where they tried to suggest that I should be more selfish, that I should be more concerned about myself. And by then it felt like, but what about all the things that I was taught otherwise? I still don't know how to live life. I still feel very confused by how the world operates and how I operate, and it just feels like the wrong way to live almost. But then what about the kind of world that I would want to live in? And where is it? Of course, it's ridiculous to think that people will suddenly behave differently. But I'm also very curious to find out what would happen if we did. What would happen if we all showed up from a place of trust and kindness? Sometimes I wish it was easy to get rid of that part of me. To just not care so much. I'm also wondering if all the caring really just keeps me from taking action and doing things. Maybe there's a marketplace where you can sell your soul.